Happy Monday, Tammy. W.H. Steiner. We got Emop. Oh, I'm April Johnson. I thought it was Emapril. I'm April Johnson. We got Falcon in here, the Crypto Gardener. We got Jorge. We got Adele. We got Martha. We got StreamYard. We got the Crypto Gardener. We got Jermaine. We got Luis. So it's good to see you all. Hope you all are enjoying your awesome Mondays. Hope you had a great weekend, Super Bowl weekend. Yeah, hopefully it was fun. Hopefully it was fun. I hope it was fun. My weekend was fun. I didn't really watch the Super Bowl or anything. But I cheered. I don't even know who won. I'm a little bit out of the loop. You guys catch me up. Who won the Super Bowl this week? And was it your team or was it not your team? Was it your team or was it not your team? Seahawks. The Seahawks won. That's cool. That's really cool. Well, you rooted for the Seahawks. I rooted for you. If you didn't, I also rooted for you. I'm a little bit unbiased when it comes to this stuff. A little bit unbiased. All right, just getting the final touches on. Y'all know how we like to do this. How we like to do this. Yeah, that's perfect. And we'll get into it. There's really not so much that I'm going to be talking about today regarding like macro. We'll take a look at some stuff. But yeah. I think the quests are more important to talk about right now. Quests are a lot more important. I think it would serve you guys more. Let's get that centered. Cool. Yeah, let's get this going. Let's get the show on the road. Awesome weekend, Michael Gross. Sweet. Sending you love, brother. I still have that shirt you got me on my birthday. It's still my favorite shirt. Bad Bunny won. What? I guess he did what, the halftime show? I don't know. That's only my assumption. Yeah, I didn't watch Seattle. Cool. All right. What's up? What's up, Michael Chang? What's up, Tim Werner, Dr. Jacqueline, King Royale? Good to see you all. Go ahead and start sharing that screen. Let's see. Hopefully my computer, knock on wood, is behaving. You know what? It did not behave just now. Browser can't access your screen. Man, let's do a window. I think the window will work. Yay! And it is not 2/2. I forgot to change the date. It is 2/9/2026. All right, 2/9/2026. So basically, Bitcoin, right, as kind of covered previously this past weekend. We're back in the range that we were in 2024, right, before 2025. So, that was the previous chop that we had in the market where Bitcoin went from a little bit above 70,000 all the way down to like 50,000, right? And it went sideways here, as you could see, from March to April to May to June to July to August to September to October. And finally in November is when it could really get a leg on its movement, right? And right now, Bitcoin has re-entered the range that it was in back then. So weird times, and we're off like 40%, which is pretty big for Bitcoin. Inside of a bull market, we're definitely way officially out of the bull market now. Jorge says he can smell 49 to 52,000. That is I can see how that could happen. But we did have a lot of buyers step in over the weekend. Yeah. Look at that's a 17% move in the matter of 3 days. So when Bitcoin fell right below 60,000, it did act as a big place of support and a lot of bids stepped in, right? Now what you also have is, when you have such drastic moves both to the downside and the upside, price tends to kind of revert back. So this is just normal price action. Hey, Bitcoin fell from almost 100,000 to 60,000 in the matter of a month. That's a big drop. So it's like a rubber band. It's probably going to rubber band back, right? But until we get back up around the 80s and the 90s, right, you could say we're still in this trend of weakness, right? And until we really can make a higher high than like 96,000, we're in a downtrend, right? Because once you start making higher highs and higher lows, right, that's when you're in an uptrend. When you start to make lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, you're still in a downtrend, right? Yeah, I got a little bit of Bitcoin too, Tim. So these are probably good generational prices. And as you guys know, the vaults that we have just completely crushed. And Gemini Bitcoin was able to short really well into this move. Gemini ETH was able to short ETH really well as well, right? ETH is also bouncing. It was at 1,700. Now it's a little bit above 2,000. This is just a statistic. A lot of these things are just correlation, not causation, right? The past often rhymes, right? That's not guaranteed to happen, but you have something called the relative strength index, and Bitcoin just hit a less than 30 on the relative strength index, which means it's very weak, right? And this is a way to measure its strength. Now, Bitcoin just hit less than 30, and this is the average movement in the red line of Bitcoin every time the RSI broke below 30, right? So in ways, this is a little bit of your hope that, hey, maybe Bitcoin does go back up, right? Maybe this is the low has been put in. Now we're on our way to 200,000, And the market likes to do irrational things. Right now, everybody's bearish. So it would only make sense that the market would start going up when everybody's bearish. And then as soon as everybody gets bullish, that's when the market goes down. It usually does the opposite of what the herd wants or expects, right? I mean, look at last year. We were so bullish, right? But everything kind of went down, at least ended down. But yeah, it's an interesting piece of hopium. Yeah. This is from Global Macro Investor. They put out this chart this past weekend. Here's the crypto fear and greed index. As you can see, since 2023, or this is like the last 2.5 years, I don't know why it doesn't go back further. But since the last time we were at 60K, right? Oh, no, sorry. That was since 30K. This is the lowest, this is the most extreme fear that we've ever been in the market, which is just absurd, But usually in hindsight, these have created great buying opportunities. And again, that's something that we can feel confident in our strategies that as soon as that momentum kicks back in, right, we'll be on the right side of the market. We'll be on the right side of that uptrend as well as the downtrend. That's the beauty of the Gemini, is it takes advantage of both markets. So we can make money when the market's going down. We can make money when the market's going up. And right now, I think probabilities are saying that the market is more likely to go up than go down, just based on where the fear and greed index is. But you can see it. We hit extreme fear over here, and we just ended up going sideways, peaked a little bit above, and then we went down. So it's not guaranteed. And I found a fear and greed index on TradingView. And you can see we're at a very low level that we haven't seen since June of 2022, right? And you can see what happened in June of 2022. We did have a very nice rally in the summertime of 2022. I don't know how much Bitcoin went up, but let's say that there's a line right here let's just say from 20,000 to like 25 or 27,000. It was somewhere around that range. Or we peaked down to like 19. I don't remember exactly the price. But I remember the summer rally was still significant. We went up by like 50%. And then Bitcoin obviously made new lows because of FTX, right? Had FTX not happened, would we have gotten those lows? I'm not sure. But you can see the other times that we've had similar points of extreme fear, right? You can see here, price just goes sideways and then continues down, right? Sideways, continues down, 2020, right? So it is not guaranteed, like nothing is. But hey, we might start to, again, maybe more likelihood to go up than down. Yeah, I thought it was kind of weird that this move right here in 2019 was an extreme fear after the market had gone up so much. Like, I don't know what kind of caused that in August. Why did these moments of extreme fear prove to be less than this? It's interesting to me. But you can see we actually had extreme greed right before, right? That presented a great selling opportunity. We had extreme greed starting in like $13,000 Bitcoin, 2021. Oh man, yeah. We stayed up in extreme greed for quite some time. And just interesting data to look at. That's it. The New York Fed inflation expectations. So what's really nice about this is, again, this is a little bit of hopium. But right now our inflation expectations are very low. Trueflation, which is a independent it's an independent analysis of inflation, and they're usually pretty right with where CPI is. They're at like below 1%, right? And the reason why I'm talking about inflation is because the market cares a lot about inflation. If inflation is high, like it was in 2022, like it was in 2021, the Fed will keep interest rates high or raise interest rates, right? When inflation is finally low, that's when investors feel more confident to invest because the Fed is going to be more accommodative. The central bank injected a total of 600 billion won. This is the Chinese central bank. This was over the weekend or today. So they injected about $86.4 billion via a 14-day repurchase agreement late last week. This is global liquidity. Global liquidity tends to help in ways, right? Help the market in some ways. And yeah, so we have a 456 billion won shortage, right? And the People's Bank of China is adding some injection into that. And I guess it's a dollar shortage right here. Interesting, just some liquidity. This is partly why the market's kind of selling off, especially broader markets. So you guys remember last year we were talking about CapEx, capital expenditure. And a lot of these Mag 7 companies like Meta, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Oracle's not Mag 7, but it was really big in the AI data center space, had really big projections for their 2026 CapEx. So the more that they spend, the more that money goes around, the more that the stock market is going to potentially elevate. But you can see that right now, based off the earnings reports and the cash from operations less the dividend and the buybacks is actually less than where their projected capital expenditure would be, right? With only Microsoft generating cash flow in excess of CapEx in fiscal year 2026. So Microsoft is the only one that's made enough money to meet the capital that they want to spend on AI build out. Google is 20 billion short. Amazon is 18 billion short. Facebook Meta is, what is that? 23 billion short. Oracle is 30 billion short. I mean, Oracle's been raising cash like I don't know who. But yeah, again, not the best piece of news for the market because we want these companies to continue making more profit so they can continue investing more into AI so that they can keep the game going as long as possible. Right now, what's going to help that is the Fed and the Treasury who are going to be working together to coordinate unlocking lower rates. And this person, the CIO, hedge fund CIO, whoever they are, said it's only just starting, right? And I wanted to look at two examples of what low interest rates can do to crypto, right? So here is the bull market of 2021. We had 0% interest rates, very low interest rates. And we saw the market cap increase from 100 billion to about $2 trillion, right? Yeah, to about $2 trillion. It seems like we're right back to where we were at the all-time high of the last market, right? But again, low interest rates, they stimulate borrowing, spending, investment. And you could see here that, in the 2015 to the 2018 cycle, we actually had rising interest rates, but crypto did good regardless. And that was mainly because, again, crypto was so small that it didn't take a lot of money to move it. From 3 billion to 200 billion is a lot less capital than from 200 billion to 2 trillion, right? So as we mature, these things matter more, okay? And then I have an example here that can show this a little more, right? So when we think about crypto, it's mainly it's a growth-oriented asset class, right? That is not ruled by, except for Bitcoin, which is like a top 10 asset by market cap. Maybe not anymore because of how much it's dropped. But when we try to compare this, okay, what is crypto most similar to in the stock market? Well, that's going to be the Russell 2000, right? So you got to look at the stock market as you have the S&P 500, which is the 500 largest companies in the United States, wrapped up and bundled into an index called the S&P that people invest into. Okay, so it gives you very diversified exposure. Inside of the S&P 500, you have what's called the Mag 7. So that's the companies like Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Apple, NVIDIA, right? The big companies that make up a large portion that they actually are the outperformers sometimes, right? Like in a very high interest rate environment with not a lot of money printing, it's been particularly NVIDIA, Microsoft, Google. I don't know about Apple. I don't know how well Apple is doing, but I know those three have been very helpful. Amazon have been very helpful in pulling up the dead weight of the S&P 500, right? It's kind of like Bitcoin did really well from 2023. So a lot of other cryptos kind of rode the coattails, but they didn't do as good as Bitcoin did, right? Because the larger player is the one that usually it's the rising tide that lifts all boats. But it doesn't mean that all boats are going to go further than the rising tide sometimes. But the Russell 2000 is the mid-cap companies in the United States that are outside of the S&P 500. So these are your higher risk, higher reward opportunities in the stock market, right? And on top of the S&P and the Russell, you have the NASDAQ, which is, the 100 biggest, more technology-oriented companies in the United States. So you have the Russell 2000, which is basically like total 2, right? Like the Ethereums, the Solanas. And you could see, because we didn't see a lot of information back here, right? Because crypto is only so old. But here we can, because we see a whole decade of low interest rates, right? Or really like we see from 2009 until 2015 into 2016, this low interest rate environment. And you can see how well the Russell 2000 did, right? If you look at from the low of about, let's just say $36. It went as high as $100. So that's a really good performance in the stock market, especially when you bundle 2,000 companies together, right? So low interest rates do really well for the Russell 2000. When those interest rates go up, the Russell 2000 sold off and then really went sideways until again interest rates went back to zero, and then you had the bull market of 2021. But the Russell 2000, unlike the S&P 500, unlike the NASDAQ, for the last 3 years that have been hitting all-time highs continuously, has been in a sideways trend, right? Again, because interest rates, you could see, rose and have pretty much stayed high, right? So the Russell 2000, which is only now starting to break out, again, the market is a forward-looking mechanism. It's a forward-looking phenomenon. So if I have tomorrow's information today, I'm going to act on it today. I'm not going to act on it tomorrow, right? So you could see that this is kind of giving somewhat of a clue as to what the market thinks is going to happen. And it's starting with the bigger boy, like the Russell 2000. I think eventually maybe it'll find its way into crypto. But we are starting to make new all-time highs in the Russell 2000. So there is money going into, not out of, the Russell 2000. So the Russell 2000 is close to all-time highs. The NASDAQ is off of its all-time highs. The S&P 500 is off the all-time highs, lightly crashing, not really. It's just super close to its all-time highs still. But you could see that, again, we're starting to price in that information the same way how when the market topped out in November of 2021, right? Interest rates were still zero, but that's because the market started to price in that interest rates were going to be raised in 2022. So when we have that information ahead of time, right, the market acts on that information and starts to front run the information, right? So that is, again, a little bit of markets 101. So based on who the new Fed chair is going to be, Kevin Warsh, he is set on lowering interest rates. He's going to play into Trump's agenda there. And yeah, so it's cool. You know, it's cool. Is this just a shakeout? Because look, here's what's going to happen. If they can successfully lower interest rates, because remember, the Treasury, they can do what's called buybacks, the same way that Microsoft, if it wants its stock price to go up, they can put some of their revenue into buying back their shares off the stock market, right? And what happens when they buy it back off the stock market? Well, the shares go up because now you have less supply with the same amount of demand, right? And you have Microsoft coming in, buying the shares, which make the stock price go up. And then when the stock price goes up, everybody goes into it, you know? So the government, the US government, can also do what's called buybacks, which is when they get revenue from, say, tariffs or taxes, they can go in, use that revenue to buy back their bonds. So when you have more buyers than sellers in a bond market, you have interest rates go down, right? Because now you have a lot of demand for the bond. So again, it causes the interest rate to go down. And that's how the Treasury can lower interest rates themselves. They don't even need the Fed. But it'd be nice to have the help of the Fed to actually lower the federal funds rate, which is the rate that the banks get when they lend to the Fed overnight. I go on Enzyme and don't see the vaults. Jorge, we'll actually talk about that a little later. I would just go to the ARC app and go to the Manage Vault group and look at my post. At least I have all the ones that are open linked. But yeah, so I think we're going to be out of a sideways period. Obviously, crypto is not only sideways, it's actually in a bear market, right? Like this is the logarithmic chart. When I take log off, this drop looks a lot bigger. Looks a lot bigger. It was just the only way I could get the point across, you know? But yeah, so with all that being said, this is the only piece of macro I have for you today. We went over some stuff on Inside the Vault. If you did not have a chance to go to the Inside the Vault, watch that recording. That is in our Discord and also in our ARC site. It was a great meeting. We covered a lot of good things. Yeah, we had some wins. We had some really good wins. As the market dropped, we had a lot of vaults go up in price, which was really nice. But now let's talk about vault quests. So you guys, because this past weekend, we raffled off $1,000 to, who was it that won? It was Michael Gross. Michael, congratulations to Michael Gross, by the way. He just got $1,000 of Gemini ETH, I believe. It's either Gemini ETH or Gemini Bitcoin. We'll give you whichever we have more of. I think it's going to be Gemini Bitcoin, but it could be something else. Gemini, I don't know. Well, you'll get one of those two. Those two are good. So every month we raffle off 1,000, shares, $1,000 worth of managed vault tokens. As Gaven said and mentioned in the Inside the Vault, we have a tokenomic that we either do $1,000 or 2.5% of our fees. So if one day we have $100 million in assets under management, and even on the 100 million, right? Let's say on the 100 million, we have a 10% month like we just did on Gemini Bitcoin. Well, that's $10 million of profit. A 30% performance fee means $3 million of performance fees, and 2% of 3 million is $60,000, right? So sometime in the future, if we are at that milestone, it means these vault quests that I'm about to talk about could be $60,000 raffles, right? And again, not to speculate, right? But if you want to enter a $60,000 raffle, well, you need supernovas, right? And supernovas are a rare commodity. There's only 10,000 of them. And that's not a lot. There's 21 million Bitcoin, and look at how high that thing is, you know? So 10,000 supernovas, we got people staking them for 10 years, which I just did with a pretty nice batch of my supernovas. But yeah, right now it's 1,000. Doesn't seem like much, but it's a lot. Michael Gross is $1,000 richer. There's a lot of great restaurants you can go to in Vegas and still have money left over. But yeah, so again, just to check. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. Yeah, sound check is good. I can see it. I can see the little thingamabobs. All right. So again, just to preface this, for every quest, for every ticket you want to get, you need one supernova. So you cannot use one supernova on 5 different quests. Okay? You can only do one supernova per quest. If you want to do 2 deposits, you need 2 supernovas. If you want to do 2 $100 Uniswap buys or DEX buys, you need 2 supernovas. So this is where having more supernovas will give you the ability to earn more tickets. And every month we have a set of activities or quests that you can complete to get tickets into the raffles. And also, because I forgot to include this, you have to fill out the form, right? You have to claim your tickets. It's not like we're just going to do it all for you, right? So if you know you did certain activities, if you know you brought $10,000 into Gemini Bitcoin, which, by the way, if you brought $10,000 into Gemini Bitcoin and you have 10 supernovas, That's like 10 tickets right there, right? So there's actually a crazy opportunity right now. And let's get into it one by one. You need one supernova per quest. If you want to complete a quest more than once, you need an additional supernova. You can choose which quest you want to complete, right? And there are some quests that don't require supernovas because you need to buy a supernova. And you'll see what I mean. I don't want to get too ahead of myself. But let's talk about the first quest, which is this is a new quest that we're doing for this month, and it's to stake your supernovas, right? So for every supernova that you own and you have staked on the ARC DeFi Hub, you will get one ticket into the $1,000 raffle on March 7th. And actually, this will be the exemption to that one supernova per quest rule that I just said. This is going to be an extra ticket for staking your supernova. Doesn't matter if you already did it. Doesn't matter if you're going to do it. If you do it this month, you get a ticket, okay? So we should add that. I don't know if we have any analysts here who have access to the Managed Vault raffle form, but we should add this to the raffle form. I don't know if you guys are listening, if there is anybody here. But yes, so one per supernova. So if you have 10 supernovas and you stake them, well, you can get 10 entries into the raffle. Okay. Thank you, sir, Crypto Gardener, Mike. So if you want a resource as to learn how to do that, head to the Money Monday happening today. If you can't be there, watch the recording whenever it comes out. Okay, that's going to be the topic, the workshop today is staking those supernovas. And I staked mine today, and it was really easy. It's very easy to do. You just have to give us your social security number. I'm just kidding. We don't need that. But yes, so this is pretty cool. And you can see I have some teasers of the new art for our one-of-one collections coming up when we can get that smart contract together. But again, there's going to be different rarities. And again, this is also why you probably want to own more supernovas, because you'll have the chance to randomly get a rare supernova, right? And then even inside of the rarities, there's going to be rarities of zodiacs, right? So there's 12 zodiacs across common, uncommon, rare, epic, and legendary, right? The zodiacs inside of each of these traits is going to be more rare for that specific trait. So like a uncommon with an Aries might be more rare than a rare without an Aries. You know what I mean? That it's going to be fun. It's going to be really cool. And again, the more supernovas you have, the more odds of randomly getting the more rare ones you have. And again, just speculating, but there might be somebody who is willing to go out of their way to get a supernova that matches their zodiac, right? And then again, that's where the value component of just pictures trading on the blockchain kind of comes in. You know, when you had Bored Apes or you had whatchamacallem, CryptoPunks, right? People went out of their way to pay more money to get the CryptoPunk that looked like them, right? And that's where they went out of their way. So again, there might be an element of that in the future, especially as this thing becomes a lot more popular. Okay. When do we get the rare ones? Well, it's going to be random. There's going to be a smart contract where you can exchange your supernova for the one-of-one, and it's going to be a random process. So it's going to be no different than playing the lottery, except you win potentially rare supernovas. But yeah, so this is our first vault quest. Everybody go to Money Monday today. If you have any amount of supernovas, that's going to give you however many tickets per supernova that you stake. Okay, now, again, moving forward from this month forward, if you want to get more quests, you have to stake your supernovas. We're not going to give it to you if you just have supernovas in your wallet. That supernova has to be staked, and then you can complete the quest. Okay? And then you can complete the quest. And you can see staked supernovas also earn DApp XP. So here was me staking 18 of my supernovas here. This is the, I'd say this is my favorite design out of all of the designs that we currently have. Not more favorite than the new designs that we'll have once we get the 1 of 1. You can see 18 copies staked for 10 years will generate me 3 million XP, which is really cool because 1 million XP is enough to go to the mastermind. Right now, it doesn't mean I'm going to get it today, right? But it does mean that it's going to build into that over time, right? So pretty cool, really cool. And here's some more look on that. So today on the Money Monday, we're going to talk about how to stake these things. All right. Another vault quest is an enzyme deposit. Okay, so if you are bringing money into the vaults, if you have a supernova and you're not getting these tickets, you've been leaving money and chances on the table. Because if you deposit 1,000 USDC into any enzyme vault, you could spread that across multiple vaults, right? So you could do 500 into Gemini Bitcoin, 500 into Gemini ETH whenever the deposit opens up. That counts. You have one staked supernova. That's a ticket. And again, when I share these slides with you, okay, when Bradley uploads the slides into Discord, when Alexa, or I guess because it's a YouTube, right, we can't include the recording. So, but we'll make sure to get these slides to you in some format. Just check the Managed Vault group. You'll be able to click right here. It'll take you over to a video tutorial of how to deposit into Enzyme if you don't even know how to do it. And every one of these quests will have a tutorial, which is really cool because I spent some time making a new one today. But again, so you know that 10,000 into Gemini BTC promotion, that 10,000 with 10 supernovas is 10 tickets. Thank you, sir. Mike. Can you swap a staked Nova? Well, that's what it's going to be. It'll be a way for you to swap, your old designs for new designs. And by the time that smart contract is ready, we will have to probably unstake everybody's supernova, and then you could kind of opt back in. But yeah, so again, enzyme deposit. This is a way that you can DCA and get tickets into a $1,000 raffle. You have to be at inside the vault to win. But look at Michael. He joined, I think you joined a little late, but you were still in time to win, which is really cool. Current vaults open for deposit. We got Leo Bitcoin Bull Run, which is out of trades. Leo Bitcoin, Leo ETH, Leo Solana. All the buy-side systems are out of trades right now. We got Gemini Bitcoin out of a trade. Again, kind of a rare opportunity. So if you've been waiting to get into Gemini Bitcoin, now's the time. We got Gemini Solana, which is out of a trade. And we got Scorpio 5, which is out of trades as well. Scorpio 5 is at 110 now, right? It did really good in the last 2 months with this volatility. And this counts as well. All the open vault links can be found in the pinned post in the Managed Vault group. So if you go to groups and you go to Managed Vault, I have this pinned post right here that says whitelist and vault deposit status. And then if you scroll down on that post, you'll see, oh, darn it, shucks, I didn't get the right image in here. Man, come on. Excusez-moi, but I had, this is what I meant to put in here. Sorry, we can course correct just like that. Like that. All right, now everything looks good. So if you scroll down on this post, you'll see I have quick links to open vaults. You click these, it takes you over to the open vault. Okay, Gemini Bitcoin, Gemini Sol, Scorpio 5. So it's very easy. Just do it in the browser where you have your extension, your wallet. And then you got even more vault resources that I include down there and stuff like that. And as you can see, there's even a video tutorial of how to do that, how to buy on Enzyme. Another quest that we have is a liquidity pool. We have a liquidity pool quest. So you can create or add $500 of liquidity to any liquidity pool for our managed vaults. Okay, now this is a little more advanced. You need knowledge of how to create a liquidity pool, but if you don't know how to do it, I have this liquidity pool guide here. It's a PDF, and inside the PDF, I have a video tutorial so you can follow along and create your own liquidity pool. But yeah, so it's 1 per supernova. You got 1 per supernova, and you could literally deposit $1,000 into a vault, use some of the 1,000 that you already put into the vault to add to the liquidity pool. You just need some USDC or some Bitcoin or some ETH to pair it up. And as long as it's in range, you get 1 ticket for that. Now, Raymond says, when is the next whitelist day? Just had a wallet request, Leo ETH, before it gets back in a trade. I do whitelists every Friday, Raymond, so you might have to wait a little bit on that one. Is there going to be a 5% fee for swapping them like there is when one is sold? Andres, there is not, because there's no cash involved. That 5% is on USDC on OpenSea. This is going to be a different smart contract. Okay, it's going to be no different than you taking supernovas and sending them somewhere else, and then somebody else sends you something in exchange. Yeah, liquidity pools are underlooked. Now, what's also cool is now our AI, our Nova GPT, it's not all the way updated with like performance metrics or more in detail, vault specific strategy stuff. But if you go to Nova GPT, which is our AI, it can actually help you create these liquidity pools very easily because I trained it on how to do that. So I need to make sure it's going to be in the LP guide. But if you go to Nova GPT, it can actually help you create these liquidity pools. And I need to include some other stuff. So I'll try to get this LP guide updated with some more resources even. But yeah, I know that this one's the hardest, but it's very accessible. You got 1 per supernova. And here you have an image. This is one of my wallets. Is there a range on date of raffle day? In range on date of raffle day? Yes, sir. In range on date of raffle day. So make sure you get your wide ranges set up. Don't go degen. So here's an example of a liquidity pool. This is what it looks like inside your Rabby wallet, right? This is one of my wallets with Gemini ETH and ETH, right? So you can see I have $750 of Gemini ETH. I have $421 of ETH. That's about $1,200 right now. It's cool because ETH has fallen, but Gemini ETH has risen. And then every time people trade between ETH and Gemini ETH, they get charged a 1% fee. And then all the liquidity providers get to make passive income on those transactions, right? So I have my Gemini ETH and my ETH right here. You can see I've made about $17, actually a little more in fees. So I'm not retiring off of these fees yet, but it's cool because it earns you something, for a little bit of nothing. But yeah, just putting your tokens to work. I would not recommend putting all your tokens in a liquidity pool because you do have impermanent loss. So as the price of ETH and Gemini ETH deviate, it's going to create certain opportunities for arbitragers, right? And it's also going to potentially leave you in a position where when you go out of range, you lose one of the 2 tokens. So you're either going to lose all your Gemini ETH or you're going to lose all your ETH, right? Depending on which way the price goes. And it's usually you get the weaker of the 2. So there is a trade-off for providing liquidity, but we incentivize you to do it with 500 so you can get a raffle ticket. And on top of that, there's a 2 times multiplier. This vault quest comes with a 2 times multiplier if you deposit 1,000 into a vault and create a $500 liquidity pool, you'll qualify for a 2 times multiplier. So instead of getting 2 tickets, you earn 4 tickets. And the eligibility is completion of liquidity pool and the deposit quest, plus having 2 staked supernovas. Okay, so you do both of those. So you bring $1,000 in through it with a deposit. You create a $500 liquidity pool. Well, now you just earn 4 tickets, right? So you got the 2 times multiplier. This is also very underlooked, right? You can bring money in the vault, create a liquidity pool. Now you get 4 tickets for doing that. And you could really use the same 1,000, maybe add $100 worth of USDC or ETH or Bitcoin, create a wide range just so you're in range, and get 4 tickets for that. Another vault quest, and you can see there's a video tutorial of how to, this is the one I recorded today, of a DEX purchase. Okay, so if you buy $100 of tokens on a decentralized exchange, this is like Uniswap, or I show you a different way to do it using DeFi Llama Swap, but that is eligible on any vault on Arbitrum. It's eligible for a ticket, right? So what does this mean? It means, man, I don't have $1,000. I just used it to buy supernovas. Well, if you buy $100 of tokens on Uniswap, you can still earn a ticket for that. And there's a video tutorial I recorded literally today showing you how to do it. And this is where it gets even more juicy, at least for the first few people that do it. There's a 20% discount right now. If you go to a DEX like Llama Swap, right, and you try to buy $100 of Gemini ETH, you get $120 of Gemini ETH. That's crazy, right? So you get an instant 20% return on investment for $100. Be careful, it's only with small amounts because there's not a lot of liquidity. But what we just saw was, because there's a lot of liquidity with Gemini ETH and ETH, and because ETH fell in price and Gemini ETH went up in price, the ETH that's in the pool is now worth less. So the Gemini ETH is worth more, right? Because it's balanced. The pool is balanced, right? So, but again, this is only going to probably last for the first 3 people to do it. But right now, Gemini ETH, and I'm sure this discount applies to other vaults if you go out searching. But yeah, $100 gets you 76 tokens, which is valued at $120. So that's pretty cool. So not only do you get paid to play, but you can get a ticket for doing that, right? I didn't do this trade. I wanted to leave it for you guys. So whoever does this first, which again, when I share this video or these slides, there's a tutorial I recorded where I literally show it to you live how you do it. You could do that right there, right? But there's some things, important notes on DEX purchases. Tokens may be priced differently on Uniswap than on Enzyme, like we just saw, right? Like we just saw. That is because Uniswap pricing or DEX pricing is based on supply and demand, as well as the backing token's price. So when ETH falls so much, and there's liquidity pools with ETH, with Gemini ETH, right? That's going to create imbalances. And you can see you get way more Gemini ETH for your dollars. It could be the opposite too, by the way, where if ETH outperforms Gemini ETH because, well, you can see here, there's a lot of liquidity in this pool, and a lot is just a few $1,000. You know, hopefully we get that up after you guys learn how to do all these quests. You know, if ETH at a certain given point starts outperforming Gemini ETH, well, then the Gemini ETH inside this pool is going to sell at a premium. So instead of you getting a 20% discount, you're going to get a 20% premium. It's going to be more expensive to buy the Gemini ETH on DEX. But guess what? All you people that are whitelisted, when you sell your tokens at a premium, like for example, maybe this was the other way around, $100 of Gemini ETH got me $120 worth of USDC. I then take that 120, move over to Enzyme and redeposit it. Now I got $20 of extra tokens. Right now it's the other way. So it's on the other side, right? So buying Gemini ETH gives you more because ETH has underperformed. So if ETH overperforms, there's going to be a premium in this pool, and that premium is going to allow you guys to sell Gemini ETH tokens on DEX and bring that money back over to Enzyme. And if we have enough liquidity, you could literally sell $1,000 worth of tokens, bring 1,000 over into Enzyme, get more tokens, and qualify for the raffle ticket. You know, right now we don't have enough liquidity to support that, because here I show an example where $1,000 actually gets you like $800 worth of tokens, right? So this is where that supply and demand works. The supply in the pool is so low, so big amounts affect it. But if we can get more liquidity in that pool, it's going to stabilize these prices more. It's going to allow for bigger trades. It's going to allow for more opportunity, and it's going to allow more people to participate. And then people without supernovas, because remember, there's only 10,000 of them. So at a certain point in the future, the people that can't buy a supernova, right, because it's $10,000 or whatever speculative price you guys make it, right? And maybe we have buyback and burns, I don't know. But the only way you can get your hands on Gemini ETH is by going into this pool. And if you have more people buying on the secondary market than selling, it's going to drive those prices up. And then everybody who's whitelisted is going to be able to sell their Gemini ETH at those premiums and redeposit back in. So it creates a constant feedback loop of you make profit on the arbitrage, people can get the tokens at a better price because you're selling tokens. So you bring the price down, and you can then bring your profit over into the vault, get more tokens. You can then use that for a raffle ticket, and it just becomes this awesome ecosystem. So my recommendation, well, actually, how I would do this is use Uniswap with small amounts, right? That's why $100 right now is good. $100 on the higher liquidity ones like Gemini ETH, Leo ETH. I don't know which other ones have a pretty good amount of liquidity, but maybe you guys can start adding some liquidity. Yeah, gets you a ticket. Another vault quest. This is the one where you don't need a supernova to get a ticket for this one, because it's buying a supernova. Okay, so every supernova you buy on OpenSea qualifies as one ticket into the raffle. The supernova has to be purchased at a minimum of a $200 price. It used to be $250, but because ETH fell so much, the floor price is $230 right now. So I gave you guys some wiggle room. But if you buy a supernova for $200 or more, you get a ticket for that. Now you got to fill out the form and declare them. If you buy them from the ARC, from us, that also counts. And there's also a video tutorial on how to buy them on OpenSea. Okay. Oh man, ran out of water. Gotta protect the throat here. Here's the official link. Again, when I give you the slides, you'll be able to go to it. Okay. Here's the official link. It's opensea.io/collection/arc-supernova-1. You can see the floor price, $231. It's across like all of the supernovas here. Again, these discounts are not going to last. It's like the fear and greed index. Usually when the market is at peak fear, it has created some of the better buying opportunities. And maybe we're in that right now with supernovas. Who knows? Another quest, this is the least amount of work once you do it, is for every 10,000 of AUM that you have or deposit, you get a ticket. So it's whichever is greater. So say your $5,000 of tokens, because you held them, has now doubled to 10,000. Well, now you can qualify and get tickets for that $10,000 of AUM. Or if you're on the other side of that, where you brought over 10,000 and then the vault is in drawdown, we'll still honor your $10,000 deposit. Okay. So if you deposited 10,000 into the vaults, but the vault is in drawdown, we will still honor that deposit for a ticket. So you need one separate staked supernova for the 10,000 in AUM. And again, this is the speculation, right? But imagine vaults do really good, more money comes into the ecosystem. Now you have more people who have more assets under management in the vaults. Now they learn, oh, wow, I can get 10 supernovas, 10 extra supernovas. I have 100 grand in the vaults. That gets me 10 raffle tickets. Now the raffles are 5,000 a piece, 10,000 a piece, 100,000 a piece, right? Who knows? Well, now to get into the bigger raffle, you need to have more supernovas, and it creates this really cool ecosystem. So you can kind of see what we're building and where it's trying to go, right? But yeah, pretty cool stuff. Assets under management, yes. AUM. So if you have $10,000 in the vaults, that's your assets under management. And this is our special for this month. The first 10 people to deposit 10,000 into Gemini BTC will also get a free supernova. Okay? So again, imagine you bring over 10,000 into Gemini BTC. You have already 10 supernovas. You can use that 10,000, pair it up with the 10 supernovas to get 10 tickets for the deposit, right? Now maybe you have another 10 supernovas. You could create a $500 liquidity pool, say Gemini, Bitcoin, and Bitcoin, right? Well, now with 20 supernovas, you just got 40 tickets. See what I'm saying? And then with those 40 tickets, you can have a greater odd of winning $1,000 in the next raffle. Now, if you get another supernova, now you can get a ticket for having 10,000 in the vault. That's already 41 tickets. And maybe to buy the 20 supernovas, maybe you don't have 20 supernovas. You went to OpenSea, you bought the 20 supernovas. Now you got 20 tickets for buying supernovas. Now you got 61 tickets for completing just a few quests, right? And you might actually win $1,000. I don't know. Speculation. But yeah, so that's just, again, some theory. Okay, so the first 10 people to deposit 10,000 in this month will get a free supernova. So we can see a lot of information on the blockchain. If we see you brought over 10,000 on the first of the next month, we will send you a free supernova. All right. We also still have the supernova sweepstakes. So if you sweep 4, you will get one free. So if somebody wants to go and scoop up one of each design, you get another one for free. You get 4 tickets for doing that. Now you have more opportunity to do more stuff for the vaults, collect those quests. And again, it's a pretty awesome ecosystem that is being built. What's the last slide? It is nothing. And that's all I have for you. And we are right on time. I'll take quick 5 minutes to see, does anybody have any questions? All right. No questions. We can call it a wrap. Thank you all. Appreciate you. Again, watch out for these slides when we share. Just look at the ARC member site. I'll throw the slides in real quick. And yeah, you could start cracking those quests. You know which vaults are open. Okay. It's these right here. Okay. You can create liquidity pools for any of the vaults that you hold that are on Arbitrum. Ooh. And NVIDIA just confirmed a long entry. So tomorrow, when the market opens, on the stock side, we're going to have a NVIDIA trade. Ooh, that's awesome. Let me send this over to Bradley. I'm not sure if he's here. So I'll just send him a screenshot. And then he'll give you guys the heads up for whoever's trading the stock signals. Interesting. So NVIDIA's getting some juice back into it. That's nice. That's the rising tide right now, is NVIDIA. All right, Gemini Bitcoin only trades shorts or leverage. Neither of the above. It trades both long and short and without leverage. Without leverage. So let me just show you real quick. Oh, I need to share a different window. Yeah. So the Geminis trade in both directions. Hey, where's my window? The browser can't access your screen? Are you serious? What the heck? This computer got updated and now it's being all weird. Being super weird. Will it work? Will it not work? It's not working. Share screen. Can I do the entire screen? This work? Nah, it's not working right now. There's something wrong with my computer. Some update or something. Yeah. Hold on. See, can I get this shared? Yeah, this is working. Throw this up real quick. Yeah. I'll show you. I don't usually go on TradingView on my browser, but I will. Oh, look at that. Valentine's Day sale. Ooh. So yeah, you can see the strategy here. It does go long, right? Which we had a pretty good trade in the beginning of January, but the momentum didn't last. So it basically cut it for a break even. And before that, the recent longs were in September. This is a pretty good trade. Oh, wait, what am I looking at? This is Solana. I want to look at Bitcoin. Yeah, it does take longs. Yeah, it does take longs. So it took longs in November, stopped out, stopped out. See, that was a pretty good long in November of 2024. Bam, with the Trump pump. Pretty good longs here too. So yeah, it trades both directions. Both directions. All right. Let's go. Awesome. Well, you guys enjoy the rest of your Mondays. Stay tuned for Money Monday. That's where there's going to be Swami Gaven is going to be doing the workshop on staking your supernovas. I just staked mine today. Very easy. And I'm getting XP points, which is pretty cool. All right. Well, I got to run though. See you all. Peace.